There comes a moment in every soul's life when the silence becomes louder than the noise, when you sit alone and realize you've given too much of yourself to people who never deserved a piece of you. You were always there. Every call, every message, every time they needed something, you showed up. But what did it cost you? Your energy, your time, your peace. And the sick truth is, they never valued you because you were always available. Listen to me. Value doesn't beg to be noticed. Gold doesn't advertise its worth. When you stop being available, the world starts to notice what they lost. That's the shift. That's the power. You're not ignoring people. You're choosing yourself. You're pulling your worth off the clearance shelf. You're done answering calls at 2 a.m. for people who wouldn't stay up one night for you. Your availability was your weakness, not your kindness. When you pull back, you'll see who comes forward. You'll see who respected you and who only used you. When you stop being available, everything changes. Your peace, your power, your presence. That's when you become unstoppable. Your constant availability dilutes your value. Pull back to regain your worth. Read that again. Let it hit you where it needs to hit. Because the truth is, the more you offer yourself on demand, the less people feel they need to earn you. You become an option, not a privilege. And that, right there, is the beginning of your emotional exhaustion and quiet resentment. You see, humans are wired to chase what's rare, to treasure what's not easy to access. When you're always there, always replying, always saying yes, even when your soul is screaming no, people stop seeing you. They see a tool, a convenience. They won't tell you they're using you, but they are. They'll say you're dependable, reliable, strong. But what they really mean is, you're easy to reach, easy to drain, and you don't demand much in return. But here's the brutal truth. People don't value consistency when it comes too cheap. And if you keep showing up for everyone, you'll forget how to show up for yourself. Every time you answer that call from someone who never calls to ask how you are, every time you pick up the pieces for people who would never sweep yours off the floor, you chip away at your own worth. You train people to believe your time isn't sacred, your boundaries don't matter, and your presence isn't earned. You're doing this to yourself, and you're too tired to admit it. Stop being everywhere for everyone. Stop being so damn reachable. Pull back. Withdraw with dignity. Be still long enough for people to notice your silence. And don't apologize for it. You don't owe anyone a version of you that's burnt out, stretched thin, and emotionally bankrupt. You owe yourself the version of you that is whole, at peace, and guarded. When you stop showing up on demand, the people who only loved your light, not your darkness, will leave. Let them. Watch them walk, and don't chase. Because what you're left with, after the noise fades, are the real ones. The ones who value you not for your usefulness, but for your presence. Pulling back doesn't mean you're bitter. It means you finally realized you're not a bottomless well of energy for others to siphon. It means you understand that your time is a currency, and you've been spending it recklessly on those who never invested back. It means you've grown. And growth is painful. It isolates you, but it also elevates you. You'll feel guilty at first. That's normal. Guilt is the ghost of your people-pleasing past trying to haunt your healing. But stay the course. The discomfort of boundaries is far more powerful than the agony of being emotionally drained and underappreciated. You will notice something miraculous when you stop being constantly available. Your self-respect returns. Your energy shifts. People start to notice you again, and not in a desperate, clinging way, but in a curious, admiring one. Because now, you're not accessible 24/7. You're not easy to reach. You become rare. And rarity breeds respect. The same people who once took you for granted will start wondering what happened, why you've changed, why they feel your absence more than they ever acknowledged your presence. That's not ego. That's evidence of your worth finally being recognized, because you recognize this is about protecting your peace. You're not being distant. You're becoming disciplined. You're not cutting people off. You're cutting off the version of yourself that allowed disrespect in the name of being nice. You're no longer in the business of proving your loyalty to people who never even earned it. Your availability used to be your weakness. Now your selectiveness is your strength. So stop answering every message the second it comes in. Stop showing up every time someone calls your name. Stop giving all your energy to those who wouldn't lift a finger for you. Pull back. Let silence do the talking. Let your absence be your power. Because when you stop being available, you'll finally see who steps up and who fades away. You'll realize that the world didn't fall apart when you said no. In fact, your world began to come back together. You stopped being everything for everyone, and you finally became something for yourself. That's when life changes. That's when you change. And once you do, you never go back. True respect is revealed when you stop being easily accessible. That statement might sting at first, especially if you've built your identity around being there for everyone, always answering the phone, always replying to every message, always showing up, even when your body is tired and your spirit is drained. But let me tell you something brutally honest. The easier you are to reach, the less seriously people take you. When you are always available, always saying yes, always putting others before yourself, you become predictable. And predictable often becomes invisible. People don't respect what's handed to them on demand. They don't value what they don't have to earn. And whether you realize it or not, you've been teaching people how to treat you. Every time you respond immediately to someone who barely thinks about you unless they need something, you send a silent message. My time isn't as important as yours. Every time you drop everything for someone who wouldn't lift a finger for you, you're saying, you can put me last. I'll still show up first. And the worst part, you're doing this with the best intentions. Loyalty, love, support, but in the wrong direction. You're pouring your energy into people who only see you as convenient, not committed. But when you stop being easily accessible, something powerful happens. The dynamic changes. People have to wait. They have to wonder. And in that space, in the silence, they are forced to ask themselves, was I taking this person for granted? They start to reflect. Because now they're not getting the instant gratification of your attention. And attention, when no longer free, becomes valuable. Your distance becomes a mirror. People start to see themselves. They start to realize how much they depended on you, how often they took your kindness without ever returning it. That's when respect begins to bloom. Not out of guilt, but out of realization. You are not disrespectful for setting boundaries. You're not cold for not being available 24/7. You're not selfish for choosing yourself. You're simply raising the price of your presence. And only those who truly respect you will be willing to pay it, with effort, with consistency, with reciprocity. Real ones won't be offended by your growth. They won't disappear just because you're no longer at their beck and call. In fact, they'll show up stronger. They'll meet you halfway. They'll stop taking and start giving. That's how you separate the genuine from the opportunistic. The people who leave when you stop being accessible, they were never there for you in the first place. They were there for the version of you that gave without limit, that sacrificed without complaint. The version of you that didn't know how to say no. And the moment you evolve, they exit, because they can't survive in the space of mutual respect. They thrived off your weakness, off your need to feel needed. And when that need disappears, so do they. But don't let that scare you. Let it free you. Because your life is not meant to be an endless cycle of proving your worth through availability. Your soul isn't designed to be on call. You are not a service. You are a person with limits, with needs, with ouches. And when you start showing the world that your time isn't free, that your energy is sacred, that your presence must be earned, real respect walks in. Not obligation, not pity, not guilt. Respect. The kind that comes from people who see you as more than just what you can offer them. People who ask how you are doing. People who don't flinch when you say, I can't right now. People who don't guilt trip you when you need space. That's real. And here's the beauty in all of this. Once you feel what it's like to be respected, not for your availability, but for your boundaries, you'll never go back. You won't tolerate being anyone's emotional crutch, backup plan, or convenient option. You'll stop over-explaining your decisions. You'll stop apologizing for your silence. You'll stop shrinking yourself to fit into spaces you've outgrown. Because now you know better. You've tasted self-worth. You've seen the truth. Not everyone deserves access to you. The hardest part isn't cutting people off. It's standing firm when your old self wants to say yes again. But hold the line. Stay rooted. Because the more you stand in your worth, the more the world adjusts to meet you at your level. You won't need to chase respect. It will gravitate towards you naturally. You'll become a person of presence, a person of value, a person whose time, love, and attention are seen as a gift, not an entitlement. That's the shift. That's the transformation. So stop feeling guilty for protecting your peace. Stop mourning the people who walked away when you stopped being their convenience. And start celebrating the version of you who is no longer accessible to everyone, but valuable to the right ones. Because that's when your life changes. Not when you become more available, but when you finally realize that your presence was the privilege all along. Choosing yourself isn't selfish, it's survival. That truth may not sit well with people who've grown used to your sacrifices. The ones who've built their comfort on your silence, your obedience, your constant willingness to put yourself last. But the more you ignore your own needs to please others, the more you vanish from your own life. You lose your fire. You start moving through your days numb, disconnected, worn out from pouring into everyone else while leaving your own cup bone dry. That's not kindness, that's self-neglect. That's emotional burnout wearing a smile. People will tell you to be humble, to be giving, to be loyal. And yes, those are powerful qualities, but not when they're used against you. Not when your kindness becomes currency for manipulation. Not when you're so loyal to others that you betray yourself. You can't keep bleeding for people who wouldn't offer you a bandage. You can't keep saying, "I'm fine," when your soul is screaming for rest, for space, for healing. Choosing yourself isn't turning your back on others. It's finally turning toward you, the person you've ignored, the voice you've silenced, the heart you've buried beneath guilt, obligation, and fear of being too much or not enough. This world will drain you if you let it. It will teach you that being selfless means giving until there's nothing left. But survival, true survival, is knowing when to step back, when to walk away, when to say no without explaining why. It's understanding that you can't save anyone while you're drowning. You can't keep being the light for everyone else while living in darkness yourself. Choosing yourself means recognizing that your peace, your well-being, your dreams are just as important as anyone else's. You weren't born to be a background character in your own life story. You weren't put here just to fix others, to please others, to break yourself into pieces for their comfort. You were meant to be whole, to live fully, not just survive, to laugh from the belly, not just smile for appearances. And that starts when you choose yourself. Not out of arrogance, not out of spite, but out of necessity. Because the longer you wait for someone to give you permission to prioritize your needs, the longer you'll stay trapped in a life that doesn't reflect who you truly are. And yes, people will notice the change. They'll say you've become distant, selfish, cold. But what they're really saying is you're no longer easy to control. They're uncomfortable with your boundaries because your boundaries reveal the imbalance they once thrived on. Let them talk. Let them go. You don't owe them your energy. You don't owe them the version of you that constantly shrinks to make others comfortable. You owe yourself honesty. You owe yourself rest. You owe yourself you. Choosing yourself is not an act of rebellion. It's an act of redemption. It's taking back what the world tried to convince you didn't matter. Your voice, your worth, your time. And when you finally sit in your own presence, really sit there, not trying to prove anything or win anyone, you start to feel alive again. You start to hear your own thoughts clearly. You remember your dreams, not just your obligations. You remember that your life is yours, not a... People will try to make you feel bad for putting yourself first. Don't let them. That's the old system trying to pull you back. That's the past whispering lies like, you're selfish or you're not doing enough. But the truth is, you've done too much for too long without asking for anything in return. You've shown up empty and called it love. You've tolerated disrespect and called it patience. Now, it's time to call it what it really is, overgiving, overcompensating, overstaying. And the remedy isn't more sacrifice, it's self-honor. Survival in today's world doesn't just mean food, shelter, and air. It means protecting your mind, your energy, your emotional space. It means saying, I matter too, and believing it deep in your bones. It means cutting ties with people who only love the version of you that serves them. It means resting without guilt, dreaming without limits, healing without apology. And as you walk this path of choosing yourself, of rising above the noise, you'll find peace where there used to be pressure. You'll find clarity where there used to be chaos. You'll attract people who love you, not use you. And you'll realize that you never needed to be everything for everyone. That's when everything changes. That's when the light returns. That's when you stop surviving and start living. Choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's how you finally breathe. It's how you come back to life. And it's the most powerful, necessary decision you will ever make. So now, it's your moment. The moment you stop apologizing for prioritizing your soul, your sanity, your space. The moment you reclaim your voice from the noise of expectations, guilt, and false loyalty. Choosing yourself is not a betrayal of others. It's the beginning of true alignment. Because when you are whole, when you are grounded in your worth, you don't just live you. You love deeper. You think clearer. You move stronger. The people meant for you will never fear your boundaries. They'll honor them. And those who fall away, let them. They were never meant to stay.